everybody, it's Lisa Burningham and I am so glad that you're here. Today I'm going to be taking 3 dingy old thrifted items and I'm going to give them a makeover. I'm going to transform them into some high-end looking pieces of home decor. The first time I saw this silver cake stand, I just walked right past it. I didn't even give it a second look. But as I went back up and down the aisles, I saw it again and I saw it had so much intricate detail on it. And I was able to overlook all of the grime and the oxidation that was all over this piece. And so I thought, you know, for $3.99, I'm gonna take it home, clean it up, and see if I can make something out of it. So that's what I did. I got it home and I got some of my Wrights silver cream out. I've used this before on just some other silver pieces and it has worked wonders. So I thought I'd give it a try on this little piece. I got a sponge brush that was inside of the Wrights cream and I got a little bit of cream on it and I began to rub it onto the cake stand. Because there was so much grime and oxidation on this thing, I really had to work hard to get it up. So I just kept adding that cream and I kept rubbing with that sponge brush pretty hard. It took me a decent amount of time, maybe 15 or 20 minutes, but after that scrubbing, I could tell that there was just some shine underneath and I couldn't wait to see what it was. So I turned on the faucet in my sink and I rinsed off all of the grime and it was so beautiful. It just shined and you could see all of the beautiful details that were along the rim of the tray. I was so excited. So after I was done with the top portion, I flipped it over and I repeated the process on the bottom and on the cake stand base. And I got the sponge and I just put that cream all over it and I rubbed really well and the oxidation came right up. I rinsed it all off and I looked it over and there were a few places that needed to be redone. No problem, just kind of scrubbed a little bit more just in those areas that needed a little bit more scrubbing. I gave it one final rinse and then I dried it off with a soft cloth until it was bright, shiny, and completely dry. Once this was completely dry, I flipped it over and I noticed an engraving on the bottom that said it was silver plated and it was made in Italy. Pretty fancy, right? And to think that I almost passed this up. Sometimes the best transformations are ones where you take a piece that's already beautiful and you simply clean it up. That's what I did here. For $3.99 plus a little elbow grease, I have a beautiful silver cake stand that is going to be perfect for displaying food or any kind of other decor around my home or for any special parties. My Trash to Treasure projects are in collaboration with April from Adair Shares and Fanny from Creations by Favi, and they are doing a Trash to Treasure and Dollar Tree collab. So I will leave a link to both of their channels in the description box below, as well as a link to the playlist. Make sure you check them all out. They will have some wonderful ideas for you. My next transformation is turning a basket into a cloche. I got the basket and there were a whole bunch of little goodies for $3.99 at the same thrift store, and I just took the seeds out and I was left with this basket. I thought it was really pretty. It reminded me of a tobacco basket. However, the color wasn't really my style, so I wanted to change that. So I gave it a good wipe down and then I decided to spray paint it. I'm gonna be using this Serentiy blue chalk paint. I used it a few weeks ago on a mantle clock transformation and I loved it so much that I really wanted to use it again. So I took my basket outside and I got my spray paint and I began to spray the basket. I made sure that it was completely saturated in paint and even in the nooks and crannies of the basket. Then I let it dry for about an hour. I flipped the basket over and I painted the bottom side. Again, I made sure that the basket was completely covered in the paint. Then I let the basket fully dry for a few hours. Now that the bottom of my basket is going to be the top of my cloche, I wanted to fancy it up a little bit. And I did this with some blue scrapbook paper. This scrapbook paper is so pretty. It has a lovely sheen on it and a very nice design that's gonna go really great with my silver cake stand. So I flipped the paper over and I placed my basket on top of the paper. Then I got a pencil and I traced out the circle that was along the bottom. Then I cut out the circle. To adhere the paper to the basket, I'm using some Mod Podge. I got my Mod Podge and a sponge brush, and I liberally added some Mod Podge to the basket. Then I carefully lined up the scrapbook paper circle and pressed it firmly to the base. Then I got a kitchen scraper and smoothed out the paper. The kitchen scraper will also pull out any bubbles trapped under the paper. Now, I let this dry for about an hour, and then I came back and I added some more Mod Podge to the top. Again, I was generous with it because it dries clear. So I spread it out evenly, and then I let it dry completely, which for me was overnight. Now it's time for the topper. I'm gonna use a drawer pull to put right there on the top. So what I did was I measured my access hole points. I did this way and then I did this way. And then I used a pencil and I marked off 2 spots that would accommodate the holes that were in my drawer pulls. So next I'm gonna get my drill and I'm gonna find those access hole points and I'm just gonna drill slowly into my basket on that side. And the second one right there. Okay, so now we've got our holes. Then I'm gonna take my handle, fits perfectly because we measured it really nicely. I'm going to take my little screws. I'm gonna put those through the bottom of the basket. I'm gonna grab my screwdriver, put them in. So can you see how they're sticking out this side now? So I'm gonna put my handle right on top where that screw should be. Okay, then I put my second screw in and I'm going to screw that right inside. And then I've got my handle. So I've got the screws on the bottom, as you can see. And now I have a beautiful way that I can put my cloche on and off of my silver tray. I am loving the way that this basket turned cloche ended up looking. It's going to really elevate the overall look on my silver tray as well. If this is the first time visiting my channel, welcome. I'm Lisa. I do DIYs and home decor on my channel. I post weekly videos. I would love to have you join me, so please subscribe. Inside of my basket were some seeds and some little grapevine balls and a whole bunch of dried stuff. And I thought, what can I make out of this? And I came up with the idea to make a tassel garland. So I sorted through them and I got these white seed pods, I guess you would call them, and I thought that they would be a great option to use. So I needed to drill a hole through them. So I got out my drill and I also got a vice grip, this thing right here. Pretty cool, huh? So I knew that they were going to roll all over the place and it would be really hard to drill into it. So this vice grip was a great way to hold the seed pods in place while I was drilling. So I drilled through the center of each one of my seed pods until each one of them had an access hole point in them. To string them all together, I used some wire because I needed it to be fairly stiff as I was stringing the seeds through it. I thought a piece of string or a ribbon just would get stuck and it wouldn't work very well, so I'm using this really thin gauged wire. Once all of my seed pods were threaded on the wire, I decided that I wanted to add some pretty blue tassels to the end. I got these tassels at Tuesday morning and they were only $2.99. So what I did with these is I got the string that was above it and I tied it into a knot. And then I cut the tassel off of the string. Then I got a bit of hot glue and I hot glued the portion of the knot where I'd cut the string. That way it wouldn't fray. And then I got the wire that was poking out of the bottom of my garland and I wrapped it around the bottom portion of the knot a few times until it was really secure. And then I took that excess wire and I threaded it back up through the seed pod. And once it was up through the seed pod, I wrapped it around the wire above to secure it all together. And then I repeated the process on the other end of the garland with the second tassel. In my opinion, this garland is one of the best trash to treasures I have ever done. I wouldn't have felt bad at all tossing these out. So I'm really excited that I got a garland out of it. So what I'm gonna do with this garland is I'm going to put it on top of the cloche and it's gonna tie all three of my thrift flips together. Can you believe these thrift flip transformations? I am so excited to use these pieces. The silver tray is a shining example of what a little TLC can do to transform an old piece into a glamorous piece for entertaining and display. The basket looks so much fresher with a new coat of paint and a new roll as a cloche, and the seed garland, which I wouldn't have felt bad about tossing it out at all, is now a beautiful decorative piece that adds another high-end element to my display. I hope you enjoyed these transformations. I really appreciate you stopping by. Thank you so much for watching.